Emma closed the car door quietly, careful not to wake the neighbors as she stepped into the cool night air. The birthday party she had just left should have filled her with joy. Music, laughter, people chatting, children running with balloons, it was all there. But she had felt like a shadow moving through the brightness. Smiles came easily to others, while hers had been forced. As she walked up the short path to her front door, she felt a heavy stillness press down on her shoulders. Inside, the house was quiet. The clock on the wall ticked softly. Emma set her purse on the table, slipped off her shoes, and took a deep breath. The scent of home-faint lavender from the candle she had lit before leaving greeted her. For a moment, she let her eyes close. This was her safe place, but tonight it felt empty. Then she saw him. Daniel, her 17-year-old son, was sitting on the couch. Leaning forward, elbows on his knees, fingers locked together. The soft light of the lamp cast shadows across his young face, making him look older than his years. He didn't turn to greet her. His eyes stayed fixed on the floor as though the carpet held answers he couldn't find. Emma smiled gently, trying to ease the tension she felt. "You're still awake," she said softly. Her voice was warm, but her heart skipped a beat. Daniel rarely stayed up this late. He nodded once without lifting his head. "I couldn't sleep." She walked toward him slowly, hanging her coat over the chair on the way. "You should rest. Tomorrow's a school day." Daniel's shoulders rose and fell, but he didn't move. Emma paused beside him, then lowered herself into the armchair across from the couch. She studied him quietly. Something about his stillness unsettled her. He wasn't restless like most teens his age. Tonight, he looked like someone carrying a weight too heavy for his young frame. She leaned back, crossing her arms loosely. "It was a nice party," she said lightly, trying to break the silence. "The decorations were lovely. The kids had fun." Finally, Daniel lifted his head. His dark eyes met hers, and for a moment Emma felt as if he could see through every wall she had built. "Did you have fun, Mom?" he asked. His tone was calm, but there was a sharp edge underneath. Emma blinked. The question was simple, yet it cut deep. She hesitated before nodding. "It was fine," she answered. That word "fine" was all she could manage. It was the safe answer, the one she always used. But Daniel didn't look satisfied. His gaze lingered on her face, searching, almost accusing. Emma looked away, her eyes landing on the half-drawn curtains. The night outside was darker than usual, as though even the stars had hidden. "You don't sound like it was fun," he said quietly. Emma's lips parted. But no words came. He was right. She hadn't enjoyed herself. At the party, she had laughed politely at jokes she didn't find funny. She had listened to conversations, but hadn't felt part of them. She had smiled at couples holding hands, feeling a hollow ache inside her chest. And the truth was, she had been relieved when the night ended, so she could escape the noise and return home. But she couldn't tell Daniel that. She was his mother. She was supposed to be strong, cheerful, the one who reassured him that everything was fine. She wasn't supposed to let him see her emptiness. Emma forced another smile. "I guess I was just tired," she said. "Too much talking. Too many people." Daniel's eyes didn't leave her. He sat back slowly, resting against the couch cushion. His silence grew heavier, wrapping around the room. Emma tried again. "How was your evening? Did you eat dinner?" "I ate," he said softly. Then, after a pause, "I waited for you." Her heart fluttered. "Waited for me? Why?" Daniel hesitated, his fingers tightening together. "I needed to talk to you." Emma straightened, surprised. Her son rarely spoke in such a serious tone. Usually, their conversations were light, school, friends, music, small, everyday things. But tonight, there was something else in his voice, something older, deeper. "Talk to me about what?" she asked carefully. For a moment, Daniel said nothing. His eyes dropped again to the floor, and Emma could see the conflict on his face. His lips pressed into a thin line as though he was holding back something heavy. Emma leaned forward, her voice gentle. "Daniel, what is it?" He looked up suddenly, and the intensity in his gaze made her catch her breath. "I see things, Mom," he said, his voice low but clear. Things you don't say out loud. Things you think you hide. Her pulse quickened. What do you mean? I see you, Daniel continued. I see the way you come home after being with people. You smile in front of them, but when you're alone, your face changes. You look sad, like you're carrying something you don't want anyone to know. Emma's throat tightened. His words pierced straight through her. She wanted to deny it, to laugh it off, to tell him he was imagining things. But deep down she knew he was right. Daniel. She whispered, but her voice broke. He leaned forward, eyes never leaving hers. You're not happy, are you? Emma froze. The question hung in the air like a blade. She wanted to answer, but the words tangled inside her. She had spent years pretending she was content. Pretending she didn't need more. Pretending her quiet loneliness didn't matter. But now her son, the one person she thought she had protected from her hidden pain, was saying it out loud. Her hands trembled slightly in her lap. She looked down at them, unable to meet his eyes. Why would you say that? She asked softly. Daniel's expression softened, but his voice stayed firm. Because I'm your son, and I know you. You can hide it from everyone else, but not from me. Emma felt her chest tighten, as though her heart was caught in a grip. She swallowed hard, trying to find her balance. This wasn't the conversation she had expected tonight. She had walked into the house thinking of warm tea and quiet rest. Instead, she was facing the truth she had run from for so long. Silence filled the room again. Oh, but this time it wasn't empty. It was heavy, charged with words unspoken. Emma's eyes burned with unshed tears. She wanted to speak, but fear held her back. Fear of admitting how lonely she truly was. Fear of breaking the strong image she had always shown her son. Daniel shifted closer, his voice softening. You don't have to hide from me, Mom. Emma raised her eyes to him, startled by the tenderness in his tone. He wasn't accusing her. He wasn't angry. He was concerned. He was watching her with love, the kind of love only a child could give, a love that saw through every mask. Her lips trembled as she whispered, You see too much, Daniel? He didn't smile. He didn't look away. Instead, he nodded slowly, as if he had been waiting for her to admit it. And then, with a quiet breath, he leaned forward and said something that made Emma's world tilt, something she never expected to hear from her own son. Daniel's voice was steady, but his words shook Emma like a sudden storm. Mom, he said, looking straight into her eyes, I don't think you're truly happy. You smile for people outside, but when you come home, I see this sadness you hide. Every night I see it. Emma froze, her throat tightened. Its words echoed in her chest louder than the ticking clock on the wall. She wanted to deny it, but she couldn't. For years. She had thought her mask was perfect strong mother.com woman, always smiling. But now her son had pulled it off in one sentence. Daniel. Her voice cracked. Why would you say that? Because I can't ignore it anymore. He answered quickly. His tone wasn't harsh. It was full of worry. You're my mom. I live with you. I see everything. You laugh at people's jokes, but when you're alone, you look away. Sometimes I hear you walking in your room at night, pacing like you can't sleep. Sometimes, when you think I'm asleep, I hear you cry. Emma's breath caught. She looked away, pressing her lips together tightly. Tears stung her eyes, but she tried to hold them back. She didn't want her son to see her break, yet he already had. He had seen more than she realized. Daniel's voice softened, almost pleading. You don't deserve to live like that. You deserve something real. Someone real? Her heart twisted painfully. She wanted to tell him he was wrong, that she was fine, that she didn't need anyone. But deep inside, the truth screamed louder. She wasn't fine. She hadn't been fine for years. Emma's hands trembled as she gripped the armrest of her chair. She turned back to him, her eyes wet. Daniel, you're still young. You don't understand life isn't simple. Happiness isn't something you just find. It's complicated. But Daniel shook his head firmly. No, Mom. It's not supposed to be this complicated. You've given everything to me, to this house, to making sure I'm okay. But what about you? Who's giving to you? It's making sure you're okay." His words pierced deeper than anything she had heard in years. For a moment, Emma felt as though she couldn't breathe. She lowered her face into her hands, trying to hide. But Daniel leaned forward. "Mom," he said softly, "I just want to see you smile for yourself. Not because you have to, not because you're pretending, but because someone made you feel alive again." Emma lifted her head slowly, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Alive again," she whispered. The phrase felt foreign on her tongue, like something she had long forgotten. Daniel nodded. "Yes, alive, like you used to be when Dad was here. Or maybe even more than that. I don't know. I just know you're not living right now. You're surviving." The name Dad hung in the air like a ghost. Emma's chest ached at the sound of it. She had loved Daniel's father, but life had pulled them apart, leaving her to raise Daniel alone. She had buried her grief in silence, refusing to show weakness. Now, years later, her son was staring at her with eyes too old for his age, carrying truths she didn't want to face. Her voice broke. "Daniel, you don't understand the pain of losing someone you love." "I don't," he admitted quickly. "But I understand the pain of watching someone you love suffer every single day. And that's what I see when I look at you." Emma's heart shattered. She reached out instinctively and touched his hand. Its fingers were warm, strong, trembling slightly. Didn't pull away. "I've tried to be strong for you," she whispered. "I never wanted you to feel my sadness. I didn't want you to carry my burdens, but I already carry it," Daniel said, his voice breaking. "Because I love you, Ken, because I can't stand watching you hide behind smiles that don't reach your eyes." Her tears fell freely now. She pulled her hand away and pressed it to her mouth, trying to stifle the sobs rising in her chest. But Daniel didn't look away. He watched her, and for the first time, Emma realized he wasn't a child anymore. He was a young man, and he could see her as more than just mom. He saw her as a woman, with longings, wounds, and dreams she had buried. Emma tried to steady her breath. She whispered, "I thought I was protecting you by keeping it inside." "You weren't," Daniel said firmly. "You're only hurting yourself, and I can't let that happen anymore." His conviction startled her. She looked at him through blurred vision, her chest rising and falling unevenly. "Daniel, what are you asking me to do?" "I'm asking you," he said slowly, clearly, "to stop pretending. To admit what you really feel. To let yourself want something again. To let yourself need someone again." Emma's body went cold, then warm, as his words sank deep. To want, to need. She hadn't allowed herself those feelings in years. Every time her heart tried to hope, she silenced it. Every time she felt the emptiness, she filled it with responsibilities. But Daniel was pulling those walls apart with nothing but his love and his honesty. She whispered, "Broken? I don't even know where to begin." "You don't have to know," Daniel said, his eyes fierce yet tender. "Just stop lying to yourself. Stop telling me you're fine. Because I see the truth, Mom. I see it every day. And you deserve better." Emma's chest ached with both pain and something new, something frightening, but alive. She wiped her tears with trembling fingers. "You shouldn't have to worry about me like this. You're too young." Daniel shook his head again. "No, Mom, I'm old enough to care. I'm old enough to see. And I'm old enough to tell you the truth that everyone else ignores. You're not happy. And you won't be until you stop hiding." The silence that followed was unbearable. Emma's heart pounded in her ears. She wanted to run, to escape, to hide in the safety of her bedroom walls. But she couldn't move. His words had nailed her in place. Finally, she whispered, "You see too much, Daniel." "Yes," he replied softly. "And that's why I can't stay quiet anymore." Emma stared at him, her vision still blurred by tears. She wanted to comfort him, but she was the one who felt exposed, fragile, raw. She had lived years pretending to be unbreakable. Tonight, her son had cracked her open with a truth, too sharp to deny. And then, as though the weight inside him had been waiting for this exact moment, Daniel leaned even closer. His eyes glistened with something between fear and courage. His lips trembled before he spoke, but when the words came, they struck Emma harder than anything he had said before. "Mom," he whispered, "I don't think you've stopped waiting for love. Maybe you're still waiting for the person you lost. Or maybe," his eyes softened and his voice lowered, almost breaking, "maybe you're waiting for someone who's already here, right in front of you. And you don't even realize it." Emma gasped. Her whole body stilled. The room seemed to tilt, the silence deafening. Her son's words weren't just truth anymore, they were a revelation. A storm that ripped the ground beneath her feet. Her heart thundered. Her hands gripped the armrest as if holding on to the last piece of stability. She stared at him, unable to form words, unable to breathe. What did he mean? Who was he talking about? Why did his eyes hold that kind of light? Emma's world had already been shaken. But now, with those words, Daniel had left her searching for answers she wasn't ready to face. Emma's chest tightened. Daniel's words replayed in her mind like an echo she couldn't silence. Maybe you're waiting for someone who's already here, right in front of you, and you don't even realize it. She stared at him, her lips parted, her breath shallow. The clock ticked loudly in the quiet room, marking every second of her silence. Daniel's eyes didn't waver. He sat across from her, leaning forward, waiting. As though he had dropped a truth too heavy to leave hanging, Emma's fingers dug into the armrest of her chair. Her heart was thundering so loudly she was afraid he could hear it. What does he mean? Who is he talking about? The question burned inside her. Her voice shook as she whispered, "Daniel, what are you saying?" He didn't flinch. His gaze stayed steady. "I'm saying you're still holding back, Mom. You're living like your story ended years ago. But it didn't. You're still here. Your heart is still here. And maybe the love you're looking for isn't lost in the past. Maybe it's closer than you think." Emma's throat went dry. She wanted to stop him, to tell him he was wrong, but something in his tone, something bold, almost daring, stilled her. She searched his face, and what she saw frightened her. Certainty. Her eyes filled again with tears. "Daniel, you don't understand. I do." He cut in, his voice strong but trembling with emotion. "I see it every day. The way you walk through this house like a ghost. The way you look out the window at night as if you're waiting for someone who will never come. But maybe you're not supposed to wait for the past. Maybe you're supposed to see the present. Maybe you're supposed to see me." The words struck like lightning. Emma's whole body froze. "See me." Her pulse raced wildly. She blinked at him, stunned, unable to move or speak. She had expected many things tonight, confessions of teenage struggles, hidden troubles at school, even anger she hadn't seen before, but not this. Never this. Daniel leaned closer, his voice lower now, carrying both strength and vulnerability. "I'm not a child anymore. I'm not blind. I know what love looks like, and I know what loneliness does to a person. You've given me everything. But you've forgotten to give yourself the one thing you deserve: real love." Emma shook her head quickly, trying to escape the storm he had unleashed. "Daniel, stop. You're confusing things. You're too young to understand what you're saying." "I'm old enough to understand pain," he countered. "I'm old enough to see when someone I love is drowning inside their own silence. And I'm old enough to say what no one else dares to tell you. You can't keep living like this." Her body trembled. She rose suddenly, pacing across the room, her hands pressed against her temples. The air felt heavy, suffocating. She couldn't look at him. Not after those words. "Why are you saying this to me?" she demanded, her voice breaking. "Why tonight? Why now?" Daniel stood too, but he didn't move toward her. He kept his distance, his eyes locked on her trembling frame. "Because tonight I couldn't pretend anymore. Watching you come home from that party, smiling with tired eyes, it broke something inside me. I realized, if I don't speak now, You'll keep living this way forever. And I can't let that happen." Emma pressed her back against the wall as though she needed its strength to hold her up. Her tears blurred her vision. She shook her head, whispering, "You don't know what you're asking of me." "I'm asking you to live," he said firmly. She swallowed hard, her voice dropping to a whisper. "And what if I don't know how?" Daniel's expression softened. For a moment, he looked like the boy she had raised, the boy who used to run to her for comfort. But now he was also something else, someone older. Someone who could see her pain more clearly than she ever imagined. "Then, let me help you," he whispered. Her chest ached violently. Those words carried too much weight, too much meaning, and she wasn't ready for any of it. She turned away, pressing her palms to her face, trying to steady her breath. Her mind was spinning, replaying every sentence he had said. "See me? Let me help you. Don't wait for the past." The house felt unbearably small. Every corner, every shadow seemed to echo with truths she had buried. She wanted to run outside into the cold night air to escape the suffocating storm of her son's confession. But her legs wouldn't move. Finally, she turned back toward him, her face pale, her tears endless. "Daniel, this isn't fair. You shouldn't carry this burden. I'm your mother. It's not your job to fix me." He stepped closer then, just one step, his eyes unyielding. "Maybe not. But I love you too much to stay silent. If speaking the truth is wrong, then I don't care. Because I'd rather see you angry at me than watch you slowly fade away." Emma's breath caught. His words sliced through her defenses. She stared at him, her mind a whirlwind of confusion, love, fear, and something unnamed, something she didn't dare acknowledge. Silence fell again. Long, heavy, suffocating. The kind of silence that changes everything. Emma finally broke it, her voice trembling. "You don't know what you're asking me to feel." Daniel's reply was soft but firm. "Then search for the answers, Mom, even if they scare you. Especially if they scare you. Because the truth is already inside, you've just been too afraid to face it." Her knees weakened. She sank onto the couch, covering her face with her hands. Her tears wouldn't stop. She felt exposed, raw, stripped of every layer she had used to shield herself. Daniel stood silently for a moment, then moved closer. He sat beside her, not touching her, just close enough for her to feel his presence. After a long silence, he whispered, "Please, don't let life pass you by. Promise me you'll at least try to find your happiness." Emma lowered her hand slowly, turning her tear-streaked face toward him. His eyes were full of something she had never seen before, love. Yes, but also courage, determination, and an intensity that unsettled her. Her voice cracked. "And what if happiness is something I can't reach anymore?" Daniel shook his head. "Then at least you'll know you've tried. At least you'll stop lying to yourself. That's all I ask." Emma's heart broke again, but this time it was different. The pain was mixed with a strange warmth, a dangerous warmth she couldn't name. His words had shattered her walls, and now there was no going back. She closed her eyes, whispering, "You've left me with questions I don't know how to answer." "Good," he said softly, "because questions mean you're still alive." The room grew quiet again. Outside, the wind brushed against the windows. Inside, mother and son sat side by side, hearts heavy. The air thick with unspoken truths. Emma knew she couldn't undo what had been said. She couldn't erase his words, nor the way they had shaken her soul. Daniel had forced her to look into the mirror she had avoided for years. And now, for the first time in so long, she realized she had no choice but to search for answers, for love, for herself. Her son's words had broken her silence. And in that silence, she understood one thing clearly. Her life would never be the same again.